Hello, good morning, Year 1 and Year 2. Welcome back to English Lessons Live with me, Mr. Phillips. Today is, as you can see, hashtag Well Dressed Wednesday. I decided I'd put on, a fancy shirt and a tie on a Wednesday just so I look a little bit posher. It's nice to sometimes keep a routine, isn't it? And get up and do the things you would normally do, even though we have to stay at home. So hashtag Well Dressed Wednesday today. If you're on social media, you can get me at the usual hashtags, hashtag St Anne's Live or at St Anne's Rain Hill, or you can send any of the work that you've been doing to rsa.y6@3-saints.org.uk. So what we're going to do today is we're going to carry on with the writing that we were doing on Monday that was linked to the book The Way Back Home by Oliver Jeffers. So we're going to be adding on to the writing that we did. So we wrote a paragraph last time. I'm going to write a new paragraph today. But before we do that, we're going to get started with a bit of a warm-up activity. Something to test our spelling, punctuation and grammar. Have a little look at the board. So Year 1s, I've written a sentence for you on my board today. And it says, my ring, just like my ring here, my ring was round, had a little green stone on it. So if you imagine a lovely piece of jewellery, it's a lovely round ring, got a little green jewel on it. Now, there's a word missing. And the word missing from that sentence is and. The conjunction to join two pieces of information together. What I want you to do, Year 1, is to figure out where in there we're missing the word and to join two pieces of information together. I'll leave you with that one. And Year 2, I've got some adjectives and a noun phrase on the board. I've got brown and furry as the adjectives, and the noun phrase is a dog. What I want you to do is to combine those adjectives and that noun phrase into one full sentence. And it can be about anything, but it has to include those two adjectives and that noun phrase. Don't forget to start with a capital letter and end with some punctuation, most likely a full stop. Okay, Year 1, coming back to you. So your sentence was, my ring was round, had a little green stone on it. Where in that sentence do we need to use the word and to connect two pieces of information? Well, one piece of information is that the ring is round, and another piece of information is that it has a green stone on it. So maybe it should come in between those two. My ring was round, had a little green stone on it. Maybe my ring was round, had, and maybe we should put it after the had. Let's see what that sounds like. My ring was round, had and a little green stone on it. Oh no, that doesn't make any sense. That's not very good. Maybe it needs to go here. Does that make sense? My ring was and round, had a little green... No, that doesn't make sense either. Ooh. So it needs to separate the two pieces of information. My ring was round is one piece of information, and it had a little green stone on it is another piece of information. Oh, so maybe it goes in between there. Maybe I need the word and there. My ring was round and had a little green stone on it. Absolutely. Well done if you put and in the right place. In Year 1, we love learning about how to use and to connect two pieces of information together. Okay, Year 2, are you ready? You've got brown, furry, and the noun phrase a dog. You have to combine them to make a sentence. Now, your sentence might be a little different to my sentence, and that's absolutely okay. So I might say, I saw I might say brown furry dog. That's used them, capital letter, full stop. You might say my oh no, I can't say that. I can't say my dog. We say I have a dog. I have a dog, and then like Year 1, we use the and. I have a dog, and it is brown and furry. There we go. That's two different ways that you can combine those adjectives and that noun phrase to make sentences. I wonder if you've come up with any different ones. If you're sending your work in today, then I would love to see the sentences you made. I bet some of you would be able to make even more complicated sentences. I was frightened when I saw a dog which was brown and furry. So they're using a conjunction like when and a relative clause that we looked at the other day, at who, which, where. That would be really good, wouldn't it? So well done. That is your little spag starter for today. Okay. So before we start with our new piece of writing, we should probably remind ourselves of the piece of writing that we did last time. So I'm going to find it in my notebook. I bet you've got a notebook as well that you're keeping your work in. Where's my notebook? Oh, I didn't end up writing it in my notebook. Oh, that's a shame. Tell you why. I didn't actually have my notebook with me when we did ours. It was something along the lines of there once was a boy who loved going on adventures. Crash, bang, thump. He launched his toys into the cupboard. Suddenly he found a red, metal and old-fashioned plane. There we go. I remembered it. And the reason I remembered it is because it was broken down into different types of sentences, wasn't it? There was once there was a boy who, and then we had to fill that in. Then there was the 3 sound sentences, crash, bang, thump, and things like that. Then there was the what was making the noise. Was he tidying his room? Was he shoving things under his bed? Then there was the suddenly sentence where we described what the aeroplane was like, and I didn't have a 5th one. Don't know why I've got my 5th finger up. We had those sentences. So we ended up with our writing last time describing what the aeroplane looks like. So today we're going to write the next little bit. So, in the book, what was the next little bit? So he's found the aeroplane on this page. So this is the next little bit. What is he doing there in the pictures? It looks like he's getting ready. It says he didn't remember leaving it there, but he thought he'd take it out for a go right away. So yeah, you can see he's getting ready to go and take the plane out for a little test drive. The plane lifted off the ground and up into the sky, higher and higher and higher. So that's the bit we're going to write today. And we're going to start off with him getting ready to go. So, first of all, we need some getting dressed sentences. So, probably we need to think about what kind of clothes is he going to put on in order to get ready. Well, he will probably need to put on a jacket. We saw him putting on a brown jacket, didn't we? He might need to put on some boots or some shoes. He might need to put on some gloves. He's probably already wearing trousers, so he probably doesn't need to put trousers on. So maybe a jacket, boots, gloves. Or maybe he needs to put on a helmet as well. So those are the items of clothing that he might put on. So if he's putting on a jacket, well, what part of his body is he going to put the jacket over? Well, he's going to put it over his arms. If he's putting on some boots, what part of his body is he going to be putting the boots on? Well, he's going to be putting them on his feet, isn't he? He's going to put them on his feet. His gloves, he's going to put them over his hands. And then a helmet. What part of your body do you put a helmet on? It goes on your head to protect it, doesn't it? So it's going to go on his head. Okay. Now, if we're going to try and combine these into sentences, we need a word to tell our audience how he's doing that. Because we don't want to use the basic word we could use is put. But if we use put over and over and over again, then it's going to get a little bit boring, isn't it? So we don't want to say he put his arms in his jacket, and then say he put his feet in his boots, and then say he put his hands in his gloves, and then put his head in his helmet. Oh, it's a bit boring. So maybe we could think of some more interesting words that mean the same as put, but are slightly different. So maybe for putting his arms in his jacket, he could pull his arms into his jacket. So maybe we use the word pull. Maybe if part of your body moves really quickly, whoa, I hope I didn't scare you then. It could say your arms shot into his sleeves. Yeah, maybe so his arms shot into his jacket. Maybe if we're talking about boots, maybe he might pull the boots on, or force the boots on, or drag the boots on. Maybe with his helmet, he might, if sometimes I don't know about you and I've gone to do something like maybe like rock climbing, they never have a helmet that fits my head. Maybe I've just got a strange head size and I have to force the helmet on. So maybe he has to force the helmet on. Maybe he has to fit the helmet on. What about the hands in his gloves? How, instead of saying put his hands in the gloves, maybe, I mean, we could use some of these as well. We've used pull twice there. Maybe he could, or maybe like a nice smooth motion. Maybe his hands could drift into his gloves. Maybe his hands could be placed inside his gloves. Maybe his hands could be, again, forced or squeezed inside his gloves. So those are loads of different ideas. Now we're going to use these ideas to create our first sentences, because I want to use the pattern of his something, so his body part, and then use a verb, and then say into his, and then what part of his outfit. Okay, I'm going to do that at the bottom so I don't rub off any of our ideas. I'm going to move squeezed. There. Okay, and you can use this form as well to create your sentences. So maybe if I said his, now what part of his body should I do first? Should I do arms? So his arms, what verb do I like? To be honest, I've not put it up here, but I do like squeezed. So maybe I'll use squeezed. His arms squeezed. And then we're saying into his, and then what part of his outfit? It was his jacket for his arms, wasn't it? His arms squeezed into his jacket. There you go, there's an example. Should we do another example? Should we do head? His head, now let's find an appropriate word for put. Maybe shot into his helmet. To do it really quick, his head shot into his helmet. He was like, bush, straight on. His head shot into his helmet. That was quite a hard one, because not all the words always work. We have to say out loud and make sure it works. But you see what the pattern is? It's his arms or his head, and then a different word for put, and then into his, and then the part of his uniform. So we could do his hands were pulled into his gloves. So sometimes we might need to change the verb slightly, maybe add ed or something onto it. His feet were forced into his boots. There you go. So what I would like you to do now is to have a little go at creating 2 of these sentences. And we're going to join them together with an and, okay? Pause it here if you want to keep hold of this, because I'm about to rub it off. Okay, I'm going to rub my examples off first. Okay, so we've generated loads of words there to write these two really good sentences. So mine, I'm going to do a slightly different one. I'm going to say, his arms rocketed. And that's quite a good one, because again, it links to taking off into space, doesn't it? His arms rocketed into his jacket. Now this time, rather than starting a brand new sentence, I'm going to join it with and his feet shot into his shoes. There we go. So I wonder if you can have a go now at using the ideas we had before to create your own version. So change the body parts, obviously you can use some of my ideas, and change the different word for put. And see if you can come up with a sentence that's joined with an and to tell me how he gets ready. His arms rocketed into his jacket and his feet shot into his shoes. And that tells you he's really excited. If you need a bit more time to write this, then pause the video there and have a little go at writing that now. Okay, so now the boy's ready. What does he do next? Whoops, my other books are falling over now. What does he do now? He's ready to go. Well, I suppose he gets inside his aeroplane, doesn't he? So let's do a sentence about him getting inside his aeroplane. I could say he got inside his aeroplane, but I could also help my audience to understand when it happens. So I could say then. Now I don't want to use too many thens, but I could use then. And then I could say the boy, because I've said a lot of he and him. Now, I don't want to say get. A bit like put before, maybe I could think of a bit of a more interesting word. Rather than got into, which is what I was going to say, then the boy got into his plane. What else could I say? So I could say he jumped into. I could say he hopped into. I could say he dived into. I could say he rushed into. I could say that he jumped into, he hopped into, he dived into, he rushed into, well, I could, to be honest, I could steal a word from before if I haven't already used it. Now, I haven't used the word squeezed, so I could say squeezed into. I've used the word rocketed here, as in to move quickly. If you haven't used the word rocketed, you could say he rocketed into. That would be good, wouldn't it? These are all the same kind of words to do it really quickly and really excitedly. So, which one do I like the most? Then the boy, well, I think, because he's doing it really excitedly, I think dived into the plane is the most excited. So then the boy dived into the plane. And let's use an and again. And, well, what did he do next? Well, he took off, didn't he? He took off into the air. Why don't you get that bit ready first? So then the boy, and then tell me how he got into the plane. Did he jumped into, dived into, rocketed into, hopped into? How did he get into the plane? Pause there if you need a bit more time to write that. If not, let's keep going. So then the boy dived into the plane and, well, Let's keep doing what we were doing and come up with ideas at the bottom here. We could say, rather than set off, what else could we say that's more interesting than set off? Well, he could say he went off on a mission. On a mission. We could say then the boy dived into the plane and headed off on an adventure. Headed off. Needs two F's, off, otherwise you're spelling the wrong word. Headed off on an adventure. Because I remember at the beginning of my story, I said he liked adventures. I actually said that he liked exploring as well, so maybe I could do that. So then the boy dived into the plane and went off, headed off, maybe began to explore. Maybe I could use set off, but I could expand it a little bit. Maybe set off on his exciting journey. That's good, isn't it? Right, well, I've got 4 different ideas then that all mean the same as going off. Then the boy dived into the plane and went off on a mission. Then the boy dived into the plane and began to explore. Then the boy dived into the plane and headed off on an adventure. Then the boy dived into the plane and set off on his exciting journey. Oh, I wonder which one I want to use. You know which one I really like? I like this one. Because it's got an adjective in it as well. It's not just began to explore, went off on a mission, or headed on an adventure. It's not even set off on his journey. It's set off on his exciting journey. So I like this one because it's got an adjective in it. So I'm going to add that one onto my sentence. So I'm about to rub off the other ideas. So if you need them, pause the video now. Remember, you can always rewind the video as well if you've missed something. You can always go back and have another listen, another look. Then the boy dived into the plane and set off on his exciting journey. Bit jealous of that boy now, actually. Sounds like he's gone on a right adventure. A full stop at the end of that sentence. Right. Whew. I've got 2 really long sentences now. 2 really long sentences. His arms rocketed into his jacket and his feet shot into his shoes. Then the boy dived into the plane and set off on his exciting journey. So everything I've underlined is the bits that you could change. Now, we're going to do one last little bit. And it's going to be inspired by this page, where Oliver Jeffers just says higher and higher and higher. I think we should copy that and do the same word repeated, planned repetition for effect. But let's not say higher. What other words could I say? Well, I could say, I don't have to say words that mean the same as higher. I could say, I could repeat the word soaring. Or soaring high. No, just soaring. Let's keep it to one word. Let's not overcomplicate it. Soaring, I could say. Or I could say flying. I've not used the word flying. I could say up. I could just say up. Couldn't I? Up, up, up. I could say gliding. Maybe we can use different words for flying. Gliding, soaring, flying, drifting. Maybe I could say Ooh, what else could I say? Flying, 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 up, 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 soaring, 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 gliding, 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 drifting, drifting, drifting. Any other ideas? I bet you got loads of ideas. Ooh, how about rising? Rising, rising, rising. There we go. Which word could I repeat 3 times for effect? Well, you know what? I think maybe I could. If I was going to select one, I'd probably do flying, because I've not actually said that he was flying yet. So I would do flying, flying, flying. But is it a little bit of a waste? We've come up with all these good words. Why just repeat one? Maybe we should pick 3. Instead of doing like Oliver Jeffers did, higher, 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 we could do flying, soaring, gliding. A little bit like our bang, thump, clash sentence yesterday. So let's do one of those, not yesterday, sorry, on Monday. So let's do flying first, because that was the one I was going to do. Flying, flying, exclamation mark, soaring, flying, soaring, and then let's have gliding, because that's of a similar kind of thing, isn't it? Gliding. Flying, soaring, gliding. Whew. There we go. Well, there is our writing for today. Shall we read it from the beginning and see how it sounds? His arms rocketed into his jacket, and his feet shot into his shoes. Then the boy dived into the plane and set off on his exciting journey, flying, soaring, gliding. I think that's pretty good. So remember, all the underlined bits are the bits that you can swap for your own ideas. Of course, though, you can borrow some of my ideas. So well done, Year 1 and Year 2. I can't wait to see some of the work that you guys have done. Thank you to those people who've already sent me the beginning bits. Don't forget to write this bit under the other bit of work that you've got, so you're going to start making a story together. So I will see you guys tomorrow at the same time for our next reading lesson. See you later, everyone. Bye.